Welcome back everybody to the Pass the Game Challenge. 7 developers will make a video game, but no communication between them is allowed. We've made action-packed gardening games, spaceship builders, superhero simulators, and so much more. Very often there's huge misunderstandings, crazy twists in the game's direction, and eventually stunning end results. Stick right up until the end, you're in for a wild ride. So I'm the first developer and I had 6 hours to work on the project before passing on to the next. I started by adding a low poly planet and added a custom skybox to give the game that gloomy outer space look. I made it so you could rotate the planet around and zoom in and out. Some C# programming later, players can add buildings to the world. I'm going for a sort of minimalist and chill base building game. So I thought that adding a giant boss character centipede add that much needed tension to the experience. I began modeling a centipede in Blender.
No.
What do you mean, no? All games have giant centipedes. Listen, I really need to add this centipede. I need to do it.
Wait.
So instead I made some UFOs that spawn around the map and destroy buildings, so the player needs to rotate the planet to avoid any collisions. I think it all looks quite nice and is simple and open enough so that other devs can, add their own unique spin on things. Okay, tiny break before continuing. This video is sponsored by Replica Studios. They have created a huge library of AI voice actors which you can use in your game projects. For example, say you have an old wizard character. You can search their library, choose an actor, for example Atlas, write whatever you want him to say, choose the style from lighthearted to fierce, and then hit play.
Head over to the Misty Mountains. There, you will find wisdom.
They've recently released their latest feature, style morphing. For example, you could have Annabelle say the following sentence with a mix of fear and anger.
I hate what you did to me and my family!
This means as a creator, you now have the ability to fine-tune your performance and convey nuanced emotions, as your characters can now perform in up to 20 different styles. You can try Replica for free using the link in the description.
Hey, I am Jelle, and I got this half-finished game in the mail. After a thorough analysis of about 30 seconds, I deduced that I'm incredibly stupid and have no idea how to play the game. But I found it quite fun to build buildings and try to dodge the UFOs. So I thought, why not run with that idea and try to add some new mechanics? What if the ground-based tank thingies are on your side and instead of spawning randomly, they come out of a building you can place? And what if instead of the cubes, they are sheep that all want to get to their barn that's somewhere on the planet? But they have to watch out for the flying UFOs because they're trying to abduct the sheep. Alright, my biggest problem was trying to get the sheep to move automatically on the planet to a goal. First, I want to use a Boyd's algorithm, but Boyd's on a sphere is not something you can just download right off the shelf. And my time is pretty limited. So I went to the next big thing, Unity's nav mesh agents. But there was a giant problem. Nav mesh surfaces only work on a mostly flat plane, not a full sphere. And I don't want my sheep to just fall off. So I had to do something very dangerous. Turn on the experimental packages in Unity. Sorry in advance for anyone coming after me. The AI navigation package allows me to create 6 different planes all around the sphere and link them together. Now the sheep can safely go anywhere on the planet. Well, not really safely, because there's still the UFOs flying around. Speaking of, I made a little UFO 3D model to replace the existing sphere and added a trail to see where the UFO has gone. Oh, and I also changed the planet to a moon, because sheep can't swim and we're aiming for an extremely high level of realism here. Well, anyway, here's where my job ends. I made some UFOs that can abduct some sheep. On to the next one.
When I booted up the game, I was a little confused. Don't get me wrong, it's cool, I like the little planet, but I didn't really know what the goal of the game was. It seems like you can place buildings on this little planet, and then rotate them around to avoid the UFO. Plus, there's this turret that is probably intended to shoot UFOs down, and sheep. So I started off by polishing up the game a bit, changing it so that you can rotate the planet with WASD, just because the mouse was kinda janky. Then I changed up a few big things. First off, I made sheep into buildings. Well, I made them sit in place, and you can also move them around, so they behave pretty closely to the buildings. Then I made it so you can harvest wool from them and they take a few seconds to grow it back. Okay, but what exactly should you do with this wool, I hear you asking? Well, Strawman, I decided that you should be able to use the super high-tech method of rubbing the wool together to make electricity to power the turret. So basically how the game works now is that it is your job to harvest and protect the sheep from the UFOs, and if the turret has enough power, it'll shoot at the UFOs automatically. So then I made a level up system. You get XP from killing UFOs, and whenever you get enough, you level up and you gain an extra sheep, and you can also pick an upgrade. I made sure to make it easy for future developers to make more upgrades, but the idea is that you want to balance between having enough sheep to constantly power the turret, while also being able to protect these sheep, and while also making the turret shoot as quickly as possible to properly utilize that power and take down the increasingly immense amount of UFOs. I was kind of inspired by Vampire Survivors to make the system. The amount of enemies that spawn and the amount of XP that you need to level up are handled with animation curves, which you can actually very easily use for non-animation things in Unity, and in this case, they will hopefully make bouncing the game much easier for me and hopefully the next devs. To finish it all off, I brought back the buildings, but I reworked them a bit. Now there's a cooldown in between placing them, and you have to unlock them in upgrades to use them. I kept the bomb, which can blow up UFOs, and I also added a shield that will protect all sheep it touches for a few seconds, which is just a bit of a break. And then I polished off the game by adding some nice effects to the turret shooting and the UFOs being destroyed, plus some updated UI. Also, if you want to see a bit more about my time with this project, then check out the video I just released covering my work on this game in more depth, and also it has my full reaction and review of the final project that happened after all the other devs were done.
With 4 more devs to go, the game is on the right track, and I hear you asking, I wish I could also create games and bring my ideas to life. How do I do it? Well, you're in luck because we're building the GameDev Rocket, a massive course that will teach you how to go from 0 skills to actually making and selling your first games. You'll learn game art and animation, programming, marketing, get access to in-depth discussions we had with the top dogs in the industry, and also receive a huge amount of incredible asset packs, from juicy cartoony characters to hyper-realistic, stunning environments. Sign up to get notified and receive special deals when the course releases over on GameDevRocket.com.
Hey, I'm Aya. I was in the middle of working on my RPG, Mana Valley, when Liam pinged me. I had a chance to play through the game, and it's a pretty complete experience already, so well done, guys. The biggest issue I see is that there's little incentive to rotate the planet. I found myself shearing sheep in the same spot and just moving them out of the way of any oncoming UFOs. To encourage the player to rotate the planet, I had the idea to add grass painting. Once a planet is fully painted, the player gets a new one. The existing level up system was based on time, and each level, the game would pause so the player could select upgrades. It was a great way to give the player a moment break, but
I'm here to create chaos.
So I selfishly tied the upgrade system to grass painting. For every 25% of grass painted, the player now gets 1 upgrade point to spend in this new menu. The menu was important because previously there were 2, and I didn't even know this one existed until I started looking at the code. For funsies, I added upgrades to increase the painting brush size and the wool gained per sheep. With all the various upgrades, trying out different strategies is pretty fun. There's also a constant risk reward the player has to manage. Babysit your sheep or leave them unattended to paint grass or buy an upgrade. It's cool when I see you guys posting screenshots of your high scores on itch. So much so that in my personal projects, I started incorporating leaderboards. So I added a simple score system and yeeted in a UGS leaderboard from a previous project. I made some small changes that are worth mentioning, so I'll go through them quickly. These sliders were set as interactable, which made me think I needed to use them at first, so I fixed that. I turned the sheep counter into a graphic representation. UFOs couldn't abduct sheep while they were being moved, which was a cheesy way to never lose, so I fixed that. A couple of issues resulted from my own work, which bears some mention as well. It was frustrating to miss a tiny piece of grass and be unable to progress, so I added a hidden 10% assist that gets applied gradually. So basically now there's a margin of error. When switching worlds, it was possible for the player to immediately lose because sheep spawned in new locations. So I added a delay to when sheep can be abducted after receiving a new world. Now there's a bit of a mad dash for sheep when the player gets a new world, and I thought it was pretty exciting. That's all the time I've got because I've got to go take a bath. So I'm going to pass this on to the next person because shearing is curing. Please don't hate me.
Hello there, I'm Airidas, game developer and founder of Moonleaf Studio, where we work on a game where you have to control 2 characters at the same time. Wishlists have on Steam now. I started by making the tutorial stay up on the screen until a spacebar is pressed, because it disappeared way too quickly to be able to read the text. Then I saw that it was very easy to lose track of ships, so I added an outline to be able to watch over the little friends from anywhere in the map. It seems that there were some problems with the progress bar user interface. Destroyed UFOs gave XP, but it was saved on the land coverage bar, which meant that the XP addition simply got ignored. And in order to solve these issues, I simply made 2 bars, one for experience and one for the planet coverage. I love adding juice, so I worked on different visual effects for UFOs, ships and environment. To make the game a bit easier, I made it so that enemies slow down whenever they are hit by the cannon. It was impossible to notice where the enemies will spawn, and they could spawn right on top of the ships. So I added an anticipation effect, which is played 1 second before the enemy spawn. Then I added some additional polish, such as sound effects and experience text. I noticed that someone has already tried implementing the build menu, so I tried to enable it and give the player an option to build shields and mines. I made it so that the shield is up until it is touched by a set number of UFOs. Finally, to make the life easier for other developers and players, I wanted to improve on the tutorial to explain the 2 experience bars, planet coverage and shop.
Hola amiguitos, my name is David. I run a YouTube channel where we recreate abilities as well as visual effects from popular video games, and today we're gonna be getting into this project right here. The plan, since there's been a couple of developers before me, the plan is to do some bug fixing, polish already implemented features, and then if we have enough time, maybe add some of my own stuff. I don't know, we'll see. First thing I noticed when playing was that horizontal movement was inverted for some reason, so I fixed it super quick. I noticed the UI wasn't dynamic, and if you scale down the resolution, some things will be invisible. I did some UI work to make it look slightly better by changing colors that would match the game's color palette. I also added a fade-in effect at the start of the game and changed the animator for the tutorial UI to have it done all through code instead. Having many animators in your scene, especially UI animators, are quite taxing on your computer. I noticed that sometimes spawning ship would be facing the wrong direction. Fix that real quick. On the upgrade menu, the shields and bombs were enabled by default when there is a button above that says unlock. I don't think this was intended, so I changed it. Now with all the bugs I came across fixed, it was time to polish and add my own touch to some things. First thing I did was to redo the ship model with even less vertices so that I could turn them into a small heart. Then I gave them a pen to differentiate from other ship hearts. I added a star visual effect, a new shield asset. It rotates over time, and once it gets hit, it spins real fast, then resumes to its normal speed. I replaced the outline that allows you to see them with a particle system that shoots them out into the atmosphere. This allows you to see them from pretty much anywhere on the map. The shield also breaks, only visually when you can gather from them. I removed the animator that shakes the camera and wrote a script that will do this. With this script, you can set its intensity and duration, which is much better than having just the one shake variation. It now shakes very slightly when you gather ship and also when your turret shoots. And oh yeah, I changed the turret to a launch pad and programmed a flying rocket. I thought this would be a pretty funny and better feature than having the turret hit enemies instantly. Now, whenever you have gathered enough, a rocket is shot into the atmosphere where it patrols around the planet, and if a UFO comes within a certain distance, the pilot goes kamikaze. Oh yeah, and the UFOs, when they are damaged, move on a zigzagging motion. I added a feature that would place trees when you are planting grass on the planet, and by now I had less than half an hour, so I tried to add some sound effects, but unfortunately I ran out of time. And that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me, guys. Adios.
Hey, I'm James from the Games Plus James YouTube channel. I added a pause screen with the instructions on it to remind the player what they were trying to do without having to restart. I also added a little bit of a basic goal, protecting the planet from the UFOs, to give you a reason for what you were doing. The little bit of story here and at the beginning of the game probably won't win any awards, but at least it gives the player a bit of motivation. The upgrades didn't feel obvious enough of when they were available, so I removed them from the in-game UI and instead made a menu pop up when you get an upgrade, and also made it so that upgrades had a cost that increased whenever you purchased one. I removed the option for the bomb and shield upgrades because the bomb didn't seem to do anything and the shield had no function because the UFOs no longer seemed to do anything to the sheep themselves. With that done, I needed to deal with what seemed to be the most important thing to me, which was was that there seemed to be no end state for the game. Digging through the code, it seemed like there was some systems kind of set up for the UFOs to suck up the sheep, which is what those shields were for, but this seemed a little awkward and hard to track and didn't seem to be working in the game at all anymore. Instead, I made it so that the planet had a structural integrity meter which would go down quicker as more and more UFOs appeared. Your goal is to survive as long as possible and build as much score as you can with a big explosion when the planet gets destroyed. I was all set to make a game over screen when I noticed that there was one already made that had a whole leaderboard system and everything. Great job, whoever put that in there. Weird bug with trees spawning off the planet when you switch to a new one based on the last place you placed some grass, which took a while to track down, but I fixed that and a few other weird bugs that were floating around, and with just a little bit of time remaining, I added in a simple main menu screen to tidy it all up and make it so you could play through the whole game from start to finish. And speaking of finished games, the new game that I've been working on, Gather, is coming out on Steam on May 16th, and you can check it out for some relaxing harvesting action. This was a lot of fun.
Alright, let's see. Oh, there you are. Okay, so I need to move you. Left click. Ah! Bait.
Great. Okay, we can still gather wool from the ships. Oh, damn! We actually have projectiles now.
I wonder what splash size means. I guess I'll get that one.
Okay, let's get some more ships. Oh, okay, I got to 100% probably. Okay, I need splash size. Ah, damn it. Ah, damn, I exploded. Okay.
Bait. 1 point available. Ah, I'm just gonna get more sheep. Always looks like a good idea. Okay. I think I'm getting there. Please survive long enough to cover. Bigger splat size. Planet protected!
We're about to die. Maybe we're good. Also, I guess I got rid of everything being destroyed by the UFOs, which I guess makes sense, but also gets rid of the whole dodging part. That was pretty frustrating, so I can see why they took that out.
Well, that was fun. I really liked that my sheep and UFOs were still there, but all the rest was really different. I really liked the painting stuff, that was really cool. And looking at the end result, I'm really happy.
You can play Starship for free, let us know your high score, and remember to sign up to the GameDev Rocket if you also want to learn how to make video games. Subscribe and like the video, some absolutely crazy collaborations are coming up, guys.